The Gotham Awards have just happened, and I really want to discuss it with you as it is the first precursor to the Academy Awards. No matter how minor it is, I want to talk about how does this impact the race. So for all things awards content, please consider clicking that subscribe button and let's get into it. So the Gotham Awards are quite small in scale, but they do have some kind of impact in terms of the Academy Awards. Not massive by any means, but there is a correlation. As an example of this, 7 of the past 10 winners at the Gotham Awards have been nominated for Best Picture, and 5 out of the last 10 have won Best Picture. So I think there is some kind of correlation there, and some of the awards winners for this year's Gotham Awards will probably be present at the Academy Awards. So there's a lot to discuss here. The first of which is Best Feature, which went to Past Lives. Definitely a top tier film in my eyes for 2023. And it seems like it's not going to get unnoticed in terms of awards recognition. Now, the Gotham Awards do recognize indie films a lot more than your big scale blockbuster films, so there is not really a presence from Oppenheimer, Barbie, or Killers of the Flower Moon. A lot of major contenders are not in consideration here. And to be honest, Past Lives didn't have the strongest competition in this category. It was clearly the frontrunner, and being an indie film, it was kind of heavily favored to win here. The only other competition it had was really 1001, which isn't seen as an Oscar contender at all. If maybe in 1 or 2 categories it has a slight chance. Past Lives is in contention to potentially be a Best Picture nominee. So, of course, it went on to win this category. Now, to me, the only significance that comes from it winning this particular award at the Gotham Awards is that it gets a slight boost, and it does show to me that it is a real deal contender. You know, this film has been consistently sliding. It has happened on my predictions and many other people's predictions, and you can't really blame everyone for doing that. The box office figures weren't great, even though that's not as important for an indie film, and people are kind of forgetting about it in comparison to some of the big ambitious projects that have now released this year. I think though it winning Best Feature here at the Gotham Awards does give it a better chance in my eyes of at least getting a Best Picture nomination. I don't think it's a strong contender to win still, but I do think its chances of getting a nomination in the categories that it really deserves is still quite high. Going into some of the other categories now, we had Best Lead Performance, and surprisingly, Lily Gladstone won, and not for Killers of the Flower Moon. Actually for Unknown Country, which I think will be a film that will be largely unnoticed during all of awards season. It does not change the fact that Lily Gladstone will be getting an Oscar nomination for Killers of the Flower Moon and not this movie. But I guess it's nice to recognize some films that don't really get talked about as often. She did have some strong contenders like Greta Lee in Past Lives, Kaylee Spaney in Priscilla, and Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction. All outside contenders of getting a nomination in their respective categories. To me, this does show that Lily Gladstone as a name is going to be pretty consistently shown throughout awards season, but as I said, more for Killers of the Flower Moon rather than Unknown Country. Best Supporting Performance I thought was really interesting. It went to Charles Melton from May December, a really underrated performance, or what I think will become an underrated performance at the end of the year. He was fantastic in this movie, and him getting awards recognition is superb for him and the film itself. He did have some strong contenders like Ryan Gosling in Barbie, who is considered to be a top 2 contender in this category for the Academy Awards. He also beat out Divine Joy Randolph in The Holdovers, another strong contender, as well as Penelope Cruz from Ferrari, who I think could get a nomination in her respective category. Him beating out Ryan Gosling kind of makes sense for this awards show because, as I said, the Gotham Awards like to really congratulate and acknowledge more independent films rather than big blockbusters that make $1 billion. I think this does show that Charles Melton is still in the mix and perhaps an outside chance of getting a nomination. I do think he is still hovering around there. If we see him pop up at the Golden Globes, then I'm probably going to start taking it a little bit more seriously because he has some kind of momentum going into awards season in terms of some of the more important predictors like the Critics' Choice Awards or the BAFTAs. The next one I want to talk about, Best Screenplay, which went to Anatomy of a Fall. Does this mean that despite the fact that France did not submit this film, that it is still a contender in other categories? Potentially. I'm still not 100% sold because the Gothams do not predict everything. Now, it did have some strong competition like The Zone of Interest, All of Us Strangers, and May December. Now, some of these I do see being in the mix for screenplay. Anatomy of a Fall, to me, winning here does show that it does potentially have legs on being an Academy Award nominee. It does need a lot of momentum and it does need to make up a lot of ground because France did not submit it and give it the push it really needed. Best International Feature. Now, this to me just highlights the boneheaded decision that the French made in regards to submitting their film. They picked The Taste of Things rather than Anatomy of a Fall, and unfortunately, I think they're going to miss out on winning Best International Feature at the Academy Awards because of it. Because Anatomy of a Fall took it home at the Gotham Awards, and to be honest, if it was submitted, my prediction was it was going to pretty much take every single international feature award. The Zone of Interest might have taken a couple to make it competitive, but really Anatomy of a Fall would have been the front runner in the category. However, that is not the case. It is just nice to know, I guess, that Anatomy of a Fall would have been such a strong contender in this category if it was submitted. It did beat out The Zone of Interest, and now with the Gotham Awards, they consider anything to be outside of the United States international. So it did beat out All of Us Strangers and Poor Things, the massive contender Poor Things. Now, I don't know why that is, because having seen Poor Things and Anatomy of a Fall, I do think Poor Things is a far superior film. I do think that it is amazing. You can check out my review for it. I was actually a little bit too harsh on that movie because thinking back now, I do think that that film is a masterpiece and one of the best of the year. It is really a tour de force from Yorgos Lanthimos, and when it does come out, go see it. Lastly, Breakthrough Director went to Avery Rockwell from 1001 over Celine's Song from Past Lives. This does show to me that Celine's Song is not really a strong contender in direction. I think that if Past Lives wants to get a nomination in Best Picture, it needs to be a strong contender in screenplay, and that may just be it. However, an acting nomination or two would be quite handy in helping it get pushed up to being a nomination for Best Picture. Anyway, those are just my thoughts towards the winners and some of the notable nominees at the Gotham Awards and how that may impact the Oscar race. As I said, I don't think it is too massive in terms of swaying anyone's opinion, but it does start to show who may have early signs and who may have a genuine awards push from here. The Golden Globes kind of solidifies a lot of contenders, and then from there we start weeding them out with the Critics' Choice and the BAFTAs and all of the guilds. Let me know what you think about some of these winners. Where do you think some of these films are headed in terms of Oscar nominations? Do you think Past Lives is a genuine contender? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.